Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Caris May, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Navy is Commander Paul Mogger. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria and RSL Queensland, who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony from around Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by visitors and students on behalf of the following schools. From New South Wales, Bateau Bay Public School and Candos Public School. To commence this evening's ceremony, I invite you all stand and join in singing the National Anthem. Thank you, boys and girls. You may now be seated. The Australian War Memorial was a vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed at the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and operations for over more than a century. But first we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths and floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Corporal Alfred Edward Woods. Alfred Edward Woods was born on the 9th of April 1913 in Suva, Fiji, to Reverend Edward Loy Woods and Magdalene Wade Woods. A hairdresser by profession, Woods lived in Maylands, a riverside suburb of Perth. On the 26th of February 1936, he was married to Lydia Jean Woods. In February 1942, he was mobilised for the militia, and in July he enlisted in the 2nd Australian Imperial Force. Following his enlistment, Woods served with various anti-aircraft batteries before he was posted in May 1945 to the 1st Training Battalion, Royal Australian Engineers, at the large Australian Army training base at Kapuka. On the afternoon of the 21st of May 1945, two groups were crowded within a dugout during a routine demolition training exercise on the preparation of hand charges. One group consisted of 22 trainees and 2 instructors, alongside a smaller squad of 3 men and an instructor. Inside the dugout was 110 pounds of explosives stored for the day's training exercise. In circumstances that remain unknown to this day, the explosives ignited. In the explosion, 24 men were killed instantly. 2 died of their wounds shortly afterwards, and 2 more were severely injured. Woods was killed in the accident. He was 32 years old. 3 days after the accident, a funeral was held for the men in Wagga Wagga. Reported as the biggest military funeral ever to take place in Australia, almost half of the population of the town took to the streets to watch the funeral parade. 26 flag-draped coffins were carried on 4 army trucks in a cortege that included over 100 military vehicles carrying members of the Army and Air Force. The dead were buried in the Wagga Wagga War Cemetery. Wood's name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my left, among some 40,000 Australians who died while serving in the Second World War. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Corporal Alfred Edward Woods, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Boys and girls, could you please stand for the ode and last post?
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man, lying out there at Pozières, or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes this evening's last post ceremony. We would like to thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today, and we wish you all a very good evening. Thank you.